Hello everybody and welcome along to another edition of the Red and White Ball. I suppose this weekend again it has to be all about, or a lot about, the huge number of Gaelic games that are on in Cork and the various Cork Club Championships. As some of you may know, I scribbled a few words for the Echo here in Cork, and last weekend I was endeavoured to predict the winners of the 30 hurling matches. But anyway, I got a text message from a gentleman who reminded me that I have forgot to mention their club game. He was looking probably about that, and tongue in cheek he said he was just filling up his Paudie P accumulator and he wanted to know my views. Well, suffice to say, I got that match wrong and a lot of others, so be careful. The Paudie P accumulator, for those of you who are not into betting, this is where people tick off matches on a coupon and endeavour to make a fortune. Never works out, of course, because normally what happens in Gaelic games is the matches you think are definites are the ones that are going to let you down. Anyway, last weekend, I suppose the biggest shock of all was Kentuck defeating Middleton. Kentuck to survive, Middleton had to win to stay in the Championship Day Road, and of course the other big game was Clyde versus Newcestown. This weekend we've got 26 games in the 4 Cork Football Championships, and as we'll go through them, there's a slight difference this week, particularly when it comes to the intermediate A football. So if you're ticking off what yours truly is going to tell you, I hope you're not going down to the local bookie to enrich him or her further. So as well as that, we have news in soccer, golf, rallying, Camogie ladies football. So anyway, I suppose we'll start with the games this weekend, as last weekend in the various championships, that they all go on at the one time, and on Sunday at 4 o'clock is the Premier Scene of Football, the last round of games, and 6 matches here. Now for some teams, they're again fighting for survival. Some of them, they're in the Premier Scene of Football, as you know, there's just one automatic semi-final spot. Now in Group 1, the 2 games are Bars and Cabra Rangers. That game is in Ballinascarthy. Be nice crowding for that one. And in Ballygarvan, Aero travel down to meet Carrigaline, who only come from over the road. Now, the Bars and Cabra Rangers are, they're on top of this group. So basically, this is a game about maybe trying to get that semi-final spot. You'd have to favour for Cabra in this, or the Bars in this one. Aero and Carrigaline, well, certainly Aero were not considered to be down here, struggling the last day. Their hurlers are already in a relegation final. I'll tell you, Carrigaline, I mean, for the past couple of years, there'll be one team who have seriously auditioned for the exit door in this thing, and they eventually get one performance that gets them over the line. Now, look, Aero still would be the fancy team here. Round 2, incredibly interesting, not because that some of the teams are incredibly talented, but the way the table has panned out going the last day. Mallow have won their 2 games, assured of a quarter-final spot, maybe even a semi-final spot, and they take on Douglas. Now Douglas got a draw the last day, and were they to win, they could put themselves right back in contention. If they have their players back now, Mallow have impressed in their 2 games against Ballincollig, against Valley Rovers. Strong midfield, good inside for full forward line. This is going to be a test on them, and that game, the Mallow Douglas game going on in Park Arena, as I said, all at 2 o'clock, at 4 o'clock as well. Mallow Valley Rovers, or Ballincollig Valley Rovers, probably the most difficult game to predict of the weekend in this. Not because that they have been outstanding, either of them, well below par, I would suggest. Maybe a slight fancy, I don't know why, for Valley Rovers to eventually get their act together. But this game in Kilmurray is a big one, because the winners here, if Valleys win it, they're through. Ballincollig have a point and give themselves a chance. And of course, there's always a possibility that the team at the bottom of this could get dragged into a relegation battle. Maybe that's a little unlikely. And finally, in Group 3, the 2 games that are on here, Castlehaven and Newcestown. My God, what an occasion, what a match that will be. What an occasion it will be in Rossmore. the centre of drama in West Cork, and can there be another bit of drama? I'm not too sure I can guarantee you that, you know, that we'll have all the colours of the GA rainbow, but I wouldn't be surprised if they were in evidence. Look, Newcestown, it has been not a great season for them. Their hurlers last week were so disappointing, and here they've only 1 point on the board. Castlehaven be raging hot favourites, and with Newcestown missing a number of players, young players, some of them have played for Cork. How can you look past Castlehaven? But, you know, they're the saying that Newcestown and Newcestown. By God, Castlehaven and Castlehaven as well. And a little bit of history between these two. It should be, look, be a good crowd at this one. And the other one then is between Clonakilty and Nemo Rangers in Bandon. Nemo, by the way, have got their way in terms of their 2 games this weekend. They're on at the one venue in Bandon. They're in their intermediate A footballers. Premier intermediate footballers playing there as well at 2 o'clock. Talk about that in a second. So look, what else can you say except that Nemo Rangers, and they are kind of surprise package. They're the same team as maybe the team for the last couple of years, and you know, they're back with a bang this year, got their 2 wins, and for Clonakilty, remember they were in the county final, but they've no Darragh O'Shea this year, and he's the forward that they're missing. He's performing, by the way, well for back at his home club in Gaelic, so it's very hard to look past Clonakilty, or to look past Nemo Rangers and that, but remember last week, there's going to be some shock somewhere along the way. In the scenery of football, these games go on Saturday night at 7 o'clock, and some incredible matches here as well. Now, in Group 1, top of the table clash, O'Donovan and Rossa versus Clyde. O'Donovan and Rossa have won all their matches. Clyde won 1 and drawn 1. So this basically is, should they both get through? Well, not necessarily. But I think they will, though. O'Donovan Rossa, I'm not saying the surprise package, they would be expecting to be kind of doing okay in this, but that'll be some match in Portford. The other one, Island Rovers in Newmarket. And Newmarket have won a match, have drawn 1 match. Remember, they were last year's Premier Intermediate Football Champions. And I think they were a bit annoyed over a late equaliser against Clyde, if I'm not greatly mistaken. Island Rovers came down last year. They will not want to get dragged into another relegation battle, and if they don't win this one, it's a big possibility. Group 2, 2 great matches here. Downey's in Kishgame, Bandon and Ballynacarriga. Now Downey's in Kishgame, first of all, Downey's run 3 points. I think I'd have a slight fancy for them, but this Kishgame team, as all Kishgame teams they're a good side, and it should be a good game in Macroom. Look, I can go Downey's, but Kishgame, if they win it, they're back up to 4 points, and they could actually, you know, they could top the table. That's the way this thing works. And then Bandon and Ballynacarriga. Bandon have been disappointing, but look what their hurlers did last week. We know all about it, when they had to win by 19 points. Imagine, at one stage they were about 15 points ahead, and their supporters were keeping an eye on the Valley Rovers in the Scarrick game. And seemingly the atmosphere at that match, and it was Bandon versus Youghal. Youghal were out the gap, a poor season for them. And still, the supporters of Bandon, they had to get up a few more points, and they got it. And well done to them in that, but it just shows how incredible this championship is. You would imagine when a team would be 15 points ahead against a team at the bottom that they, you know, maybe take the foot off the pedal or something. Not anymore. So yeah, I'd fancy Ballingeary there. No. The last group on this is the scenario that presents right now is Knocknagree are pointless at the bottom. This is John Finton Daly's last year, I believe, in charge of Knocknagree. And surely there's going to be one massive battle in them when they take on Fermoy. On Sunday. And Fermoy are on 2 points. St. Michael's are on top here and should qualify to be a major shock if they didn't. They play Bishopstown. Now Bishopstown are having a good enough season in the hurling as well, even though they are aided and abetted by, I think they have 2 Tipperary hurlers. But I would still expect St. Michael's to win that. You can call that probably a South City derby. Premier Intermediate Football, again like the hurling, some incredible games here, and these go on at 2 o'clock on Sunday. The first one is between Ivlear and Bandon. Remember, Ivlear's big, long beaten run came to an end when they were beaten by Kilnamatra. Well, they can get Kilnamatra. Nemo on top on this. their second team. This is a big match for Ivlera. They have to get out there and take them on and try and get the points. I don't know where Chris O'Jones is. If he's not around, I kind of feel for them in a way. It would be some achievement in one sense if they were to qualify for, you know, the knockout stages of this in their first year up there. The other match then you'll be expecting Kilnamartyr. That game goes on in Cork with Kilnamartyr to get over St. Vincent's, who've yet to win a match, and they're on minus 28 points, having only scored 18. Second group, this is all down to one match if you like. Bandon and Ahada and Castletownbere in Inniskeen. It's kind of a winner takes all. Bantry are on top and they take on the Piarsaigh, and that game goes on down Manway. They'll be expecting to win that, Bantry. So this is a really a close game. Ahada have a better scoring difference, but would that come into it in a draw situation? It possibly could. And finally, down at the bottom, not down at the bottom, in Group 3 I should say, it's far from the bottom, the mighty Kanturk. Well, their footballers should be operating, I think, at a higher level, and this is their glorious chance. You know, they're free now from holding obligations, if you wish, because they don't have to, like they were heading into a relegation battle last week. They take on Macroom, and this is at another top of the table situation in Glantan. No, Kanturk should win this, but look, Macroom, any team with 2 points. We saw last week, Clyde Rovers with no point. Where did they end up? So there's no such thing as give you up hope in this game. And finally, we have Rockchapel and Everton. And Everton are definitely one of the favourites. It's been a poor season for the West Musgrave team. And look, I'd expect Rockchapel to win that one. That game goes on in Drumtariff. Now, the Premier Intermediate, the Intermediate A, this is where it's slightly different. You have 16 teams. 4 of them will be relegated on Saturday at Happestry. Games are on at 2 o'clock, and in order to get this down to 12 teams, 4 teams out of this will be going down into the newly created County Premier Junior to be joined by the 8 divisional junior winners. And like you can see already, the carry-on that's going on in the divisions about this their various junior football championships. The prize is awesome. Anyway, at the bottom, this could look like there are 3 Duhala clubs at the bottom positions as we speak. I don't know, will they be all there when it finishes up? Anyway, in Group 1, and the big match here is Gabriel Rangers and Kilshannig. Now, the flying the ointment here was when Adrigole won a couple of weeks ago, totally against the head against Kilshannig. So Kilshannig will have to try and win. They'll always be trying to win. They're on 2 points, Gabriel Rangers the 4. And you know something, if Kilshannig win that, and Adrigole, as expected now, to beat Ballydesmond, if it can Merman in charge of them this year, that game goes on in Inchiquila. Gabriel Rangers could actually lose out in qualifying in 4 points, and that would be kind of so unfair to them. But Ballydesmond looked like one of the teams that could be saying Slaughlet was on Saturday afternoon. Next game is, the next group is quite competitive. We have St. Nick's taking on Glenville. Glenville are at the bottom here, and no, they like to see there's no such thing as, like in the other competitions, in the other championships, one of the bottom teams escapes. There's no escaping here. So Glenville right now are in real trouble of going down. They take on St. Nick's in Porcurine, and at the same time you have Glenroe taking on Kildare. Kildare are at the top of the group. So as we speak, it looks like that Kildare maybe and St. Nick's would get out of that one, but there's so much in it. The next group then is probably the most defined, in that Borbuy, who take on Mitchelstown and Butterfin. Both of them have won their 2 matches, so look, they will qualify for the quarterfinals. The bottom 2 here, Glanmire and Mill Street, and they take place in they play in Carrigator. But no, it is inconceivable that Glanmire could be on their way out of this down to junior football level, even though it is a county competition. So I expect them to get over that, and that means that Mill Street would be the team to going down. And finally, in Group 4, we have Ahabullock are on 4 points. They take on their neighbours Ballinora. No great pressure on Ahabullock. Big pressure on Ballinora because we're there to win it. They could be the team to get into the quarter-final. And in the last game here, Bears and Drumtariff. Now, look, Drumtariff should win this, which would probably mean that, you know, the Bears might be the team that would be going down. But like again, nothing is done, is decided until the very end of this. So they're the games in the various Cork Championships, and you know, like there'll be drama all over the place, I would imagine. Now moving on, we have our Camogie, and they're going to round 3 in their 4 groups. And on Saturday we have Killy taking on Glen Rovers. Look, I suppose Killy would be slide fenced here. That wasn't a time when that would be the case. Corsie Rovers should beat Douglas. They're in Group A. In Group B, Ballygavin and Father O'Neill's, if you're on the Paudie P accumulator, we'll be going for Ballygavin in that one. And on Monday, that game got on Sunday, then on Monday, SARS. Clodagh have been doing alright, but maybe sliding out for SARS. In Group 2 tonight, in his scheme, should beat Ballincollig. They probably need to beat them. And on Sunday, St. Catherine's and St. Finbarr. St. Finbarr's are strong favourites for this championship this year, and probably will. They will win that game. And then Sunday, then in the divisional section, and one team comes out of here, which I think has to be Shandoon. They take on Avondale this time. Now there's 2 more rounds in it, and Carbery and Carrickdown. Look, you'd have to say that maybe, well, not you'd have to, but probably Carbery slight favourites. In intermediate, 2 games tonight. Ahabullock versus Napirsig. I don't know how to go there, to be honest, but Ahabullock I would imagine. And then the West Cork derby between Clonakilty and Kilbrittain Timothy, maybe a slight fancy for Kilbrittain Timothy in that one. And in the junior rate tonight, 2 games, Castleisle taking on Slieve and Tracton taking on SAR second team. Now, in the ladies' football, and again, at senior level, this is going to be dominated by 2 clubs, and that's going to be Aero and Mourne. Thankfully for the other clubs, Mourne are not playing this week, but Aero are playing for Moy, and I think you can't look beyond Aero in that one. Kinsale and Valley Rovers, none of them won a match yet, so this is a vital game for both of them. Maybe a slight fancy for Valley Rovers. Kinsale seemed to have dropped off a little bit, and a couple of years ago they were so near the top of this. In Group 2, Bride Rovers and St. Val's. Bride Rovers, they have a win and a loss, probably slight favourites to, and this is a really competitive group. And Clonakilty and Ada, maybe slight, maybe Ada, and they'll be travelling to Clonakilty. So that one, and I'm looking at the Ada team, and the Damien O'Connor, the Cork Camogie player, I think is lining up with them. Let's check that again. In the intermediate 2 games, we have Araglen Desmond taking on, my apologies, taking on Dunmore, and after Dunmore getting such a hocking last week against the favourites Castlehaven, we'll fancy the combination team. And the other combination team, Oundala, I should say, they travel to Castlehaven. And I think there can only be 1 winner in that. In the junior, this is another interesting competition. 2 games, David Vaughan, who beat Beara last week, taking on Dawneys, who lost to O'Donovan Rossa. The intermediate and the junior in particular, really competitive. So that's a vital game, I think, there for Dawneys. And O'Donovan Rossa taking on Douglas. And someone said to me that Brian McCarthy, who was involved with the Cork ladies football, the West Cork team, is now the coach of Douglas. So we'll see how he gets on in that one. Moving to soccer, the big game tonight is in the Women's World Cup qualifier, where Ireland will be expected to beat Finland. I think Finland are in have some issues, and if they don't get there, look, Ireland have the game against Slovakia on Tuesday. Now, one of the players here, Megan Connolly from Cork, and there's a connection, obviously, her brother is Luke Connolly, playing against, Luke is the main man now, against Clonakilty on Sunday. He could be marked by his brother-in-law, Tom Clancy, who recently married, I think it's Nicole Connolly. Tell you what. Anyway, the League of Ireland and Cork City, look, this is theirs to lose. They sacrifice, I think, the FAI Cup. They take on Longford on Friday night, even though Longford have improved a little bit in recent matches. So they travel to Longford, and Cove take on Treaty United. You're talking pride at this stage more than anything else. Now, in the Premier League, for those of you that are turned on by that, the big game tonight is Leicester versus Manchester United. Then on Saturday, first match is Everton versus Liverpool. That's the first Merseyside derby. Everton are doing reasonably okay, but Liverpool, after what they did to Bournemouth, and last night in the 7th minute of the 5th added on minutes. Think about that for a second now. They got that late winner against Newcastle, which broke the hearts of every other supporter except Liverpool supporters. Leeds take on Brentford, and Leeds, who I think they drew with Everton on Tuesday night. For our Leeds fans, this is another big one. Chelsea, who are going through a little bit of a rough time at the moment, beaten by Southampton, take on Aston Villa. Nottingham Forest, and for those that support poor old Forest, it has been a chastening experience, beaten by Spurs 2-0, beaten by City last night, where this fella Erling Haaland, he got a hat-trick, and he got a hat-trick on Sunday. Like, this guy, incredible speed, incredible talent, and sure, look, anyway, we'll leave them there or not, but Forest can get back in business when they take on Bournemouth. Poor old Bournemouth, who were beat 9-0 by Liverpool. Their manager was Scott Parker, was relieved of his duties. No, I'd say he has to be relieved of them, because he said they've no hope of going anywhere with the squad they've had. And this is a dig at the crowd that own it. They're not spending money. And they recovered last night somewhat. I think it was last night they drew with Wolves. Spurs, who are doing very well, take on Fulham, Aston Villa and Man City, and of course then this game on Sunday at 4:30 is where Manchester United take on the high-flying Arsenal, and their Arsenal supporters jumping out all over the place. An incredible start of the season for them. Yeah, so it's getting a little bit interesting. Now, I don't think we've touched rallying before, or not for quite a while, but the British Rally Championship round 5 is on this weekend, and there's a huge Irish interest, well, in terms of Keith Cronin from Ballylickey, who is probably the most talented driver ever in Ireland, but he's a chance this year to make history, if you like. He has won 4 British Rally Championships, and if he can win 5, he'll be up there, you know, with the great Jimmy McRae, who's the last guy to win this. So this is a huge rally. It's in West Wales, and he's the 2nd seed, and the local driver, well, he lives about maybe 50 miles away from it, Ossian Price, the Welsh guy, is I notice there's some coming in the window there, just annoying me a bit. The Ossian Price, who is just behind Keith Cronin. Now, this could be the deciding rally, if you like. There are 2 more in it, but I like, it would be a great achievement for the Ballylickey men. And it's interesting that they're both driving the same car, the same type of car, of Volkswagen Polo GTI R5. The only difference is that they operate with 2 different sets of tyres. Keith Cronin has Pirelli tyres, and Price has Michelin. What I thought was even more incredible was the fact that 2 of them have, that ever disappeared, the sun behind that cloud. 2 of them have the very, 2 Killarney co-drivers. Mikey Galvin is with Keith Cronin, and Noel O'Sullivan is with Price. So that's kind of interesting. So the very best wishes to Keith Cronin on that one. And finally, we've just a little bit of look at golf, and our man John Murphy, who slipped a little bit last week in the Challenge Tour. I think he's gone out to 30. Now, he needs to get in the top 20 to get this coveted DP World Tour card, and I think there's 6 events left, and he's teeing off later on in Belgium at I think it's 1:45, so we send him all the best in that one. You may remember there was a bit of crack, well, there was more than crack, where Barry Rowe went to the DRA and it was thrown out. Now, to be honest with you, I didn't know what the DRA were doing in this case in the first place. like, if the DRA had to adjudicate and this kind of carry on, they'd be on duty all the time. Anyway, Barry O'Rourke gone, so the West Cork Junior Football quarterfinals, and there'd be some savage interest now in these. They say that no publicity is bad publicity. But anyway, on Saturday, you Ballinascarthy take you on, and just throw it in for you. Ballinascarthy take you on St. James's in Clonakilty at 6 o'clock. Then on Sunday, we've ran Logs, a team on the up, taking on Allegheny Rangers, who were part of this dispute, if you like. And St. Mary's taking on Kilmacabea. And on Monday, the big game, Tybal Corrie should be too good for Cabri. Another division where there's incredible interest in their junior football. It's down to semi-finals, and they take place tomorrow night in Macroom at 7:30. We have the near dear neighbours of Canavy and Kilmurray. I think I was side fancy for Kilmurray here, and these are neighbours, and they play. Some of them play hurling with Clodove, and the other semi-final spot takes place in Ballincollig between the champions Ahina taking on Inniscarra. Now, Inniscarra this year have they've adopted a dual policy, and it seems to be working for them. So, you know, for now, a lot of these junior divisions are now coming to the concluding stages, and hurling and football will be probably even more tuned in. But for the moment, look, the best of luck to you and all your teams, but more importantly, full roll for this time next week.